What's up, everyone? So in today's video, we're going to discuss one, if not the single biggest mistake you can make when starting off on your personal financial journey. In our last video, we discussed the #1 top personal finance tip for young adults, but this time we're going to head over to
the dark side of personal finance that can crush your financial hopes and dreams.
The good news is that by the end of this video, you'll be guided back to the light with a renewed attitude to embark on a long and prosperous financial journey. Hey everyone, this is AJ, your ace in the hole, and welcome to the channel where we super simplify personal finance and provide tips and life hacks for young adults and others based on real life experiences to help kickstart your financial journey. Whether you're a youngster just starting out or a parent looking for ideas, either way, I'm here to help stack the deck in your favor. That said, let's get right to it. Now, there are many mistakes that can shatter a person's financial success. Furthermore, this may not only hinder the ability to get things started, but can also derail efforts later in life. While we could discuss these numerous financial mistakes for hours, which we'll dive into in future videos, today's discussion is all about what many suggest is the biggest mistake of all. Now, I'll warn you in advance, this can be a very controversial and emotional topic, and many get very defensive when discussing it, especially grown-ups. But the single biggest financial mistake is living beyond your means. And today, we will break down some of the reasons why 4 out of 5 Americans claim they overspend. This may be somewhat surprising, yet not quite what you might think. So for starters, did you know that the famous billionaire Warren Buffett, who as of the recording of this video has a net worth of over $150 billion, still lives in his original home he purchased for $31,000 over 60 years ago? Now that, my friends, is living within your means. Now let's take a look at why most people are not Warren Buffett. So while the recent cost of living increases can no doubt be quite a concern, this is not the primary issue derailing savings efforts, especially for young adults who are really the focus of this conversation. In fact, for them, the average age of young adults moving out of their parents' homes is actually increasing. Studies have shown that in the 1990s, the average age was 23, but in the 2010s, it increased to age 26, and as of 2024, nudged up to age 27. This actually provides an edge as the brunt of living expenses are still being covered by parents for longer periods of time. So take advantage, kids. The harsh truth is that the real culprit of living beyond your means comes from poor and undisciplined spending habits, as tough as that might sound. Recent surveys have shown that over 83% of Americans say they overspend, and about 55% state that they spend recklessly. This is the culture that we're up against. Studies show that 5 of the top reasons for overspending are #1, emotional spending, which is driven from emotional triggers like stress, anxiety, or celebration, which often leads to impulsive purchases. These emotions make spending feel like a quick solution or a reward. #2 is lack of financial awareness, so not having a budget, not really understanding where your money's going, or not understanding the cumulative impact of small, frequent purchases, which contributes significantly to overspending for many. For example, those little monthly subscriptions that only cost a couple bucks, yeah, those add up to more than you might think. #3 is poor money habits, specifically lifestyle inflation, or spending more as your income increases. Just because you make more doesn't mean you have to spend more. #4 is social pressures, and this is a big one. This is the desire to keep up with friends, family, or societal expectations, which pushes people to overspend in many areas such as dining, gifts, or lifestyle choices. This issue stems back over 100 years, and I'll elaborate more on this one right after #5, which is instant gratification, or choosing immediate reward over long-term benefit, which drives impulsive decisions, especially for non-essential items. I'll break this one down even further shortly, as there was actually a study done on this very thing all the way back in the 1960s. Now, circling back to those social pressures, you may have heard of the famous term keeping up with the Joneses. Well, I was aware of this phrase and its meaning, but never knew where it originated. The history of this term is quite interesting and really describes the social pressures we all feel as it relates to spending, and is still relative today. The phrase originated from a 1913 comic strip that ultimately became a part of American culture. It depicted the McGinnis family who desperately tried to emulate and keep up with their wealthier neighbors, the Joneses. This became a metaphorical critique of consumerism and peer pressure as people increasingly tried to keep up with others, even if it meant spending way beyond their means. Using outward displays of wealth, typically with homes, cars, clothes, and flash forward to today, things like smartphones, designer clothes, and all the latest tech. Modern day is even more challenging given the advent of social media. where exaggerated or even fake lifestyles are displayed online. This intensifies the pressure to match others' wealth and success, regardless of how extended they may become financially. Now, back to number 5 and that study of instant gratification. So this study, conducted back in the 1960s, focused on one's lack of ability to forego short-term pleasure for long-term gain. How was this study conducted? By using a marshmallow, of course. Here's how it went. So researcher and psychologist Walter Mischel at Stanford University conducted a psychological experiment testing children's self-control and their ability to delay gratification. 600 children were placed one by one alone in a room with a marshmallow placed in front of them on a table. They were told that they could either eat the marshmallow immediately or wait for the researcher to return 15 minutes later. If they waited, they would be given a second marshmallow as a reward for their patience. The test was designed to measure children's ability to delay immediate gratification in exchange for a larger reward later. The marshmallow test became widely known, later tied to the study of self-control and its long-term effects on life, outcomes such as academic success, health, and go figure, financial stability. The immediate results from the 1960s test resulted in only 33% of the children able to wait the 15 minutes to receive the second marshmallow, which means 67% of the children gave in and ate the first marshmallow. Follow-up results came in the 1970s and beyond, where testing participants were tracked for several decades. Those that refrained and waited for the second marshmallow had better grades in school and even scored an average of 210 points higher on their SAT. Additionally, these subjects had better health outcomes, lower obesity rates, and fewer substance abuse issues later in life. Finally, the ability to delay gratification was also correlated with greater self-control in adulthood, which contributed to better overall success in life, and you guessed it, financial achievement. So the moral of the story is, commit yourself to reasonable and controlled restraint in your spending, and you will reap the rewards of the delayed gratification. And do not eat the marshmallow. So what do? Well, one personal strategy I used my entire life to control spending was the concept of paying yourself first, even if only a small amount. This is summed up exceptionally by another quote from our favorite billionaire friend, Mr. Warren Buffett, who said, "Do not save what is left after spending, instead, spend what is left after saving." This disciplined approach encourages responsible spending rather than treating savings as an afterthought, but instead treating it as a financial obligation to yourself first, allowing yourself to only spend from what is left. So, there's no doubt these days it seems many are living with this crazy YOLO or you only live once mentality with crazy comments like, well, I may die tomorrow. But the reality is, odds are you probably won't die tomorrow. So with that, you need to learn, especially early on, to develop solid, rational spending practices and always live within your means. Don't be reckless with your spending, and whatever you do, don't try to keep up with those Joneses. The key is to be aggressive early on in your financial life while responsibility is low, saving everything you can now and allowing that money to work for you for years to come. It's okay to be strict in establishing disciplined spending habits now in order to successfully coast later in life. And make no mistake, this won't always be easy. Let's face it, there will be many times where you just might want to splurge and make a purchase you know in your heart is indulgent or wasteful. It happens to all of us. But marshmallows aside, we can summarize today's video with a famous quote by poet Jerzy Gregorick, who stated, "Easy choices, hard life, hard choices, easy life." It is indeed a little poetic to think that one of the biggest financial mistakes made by so many really has nothing to do with finance itself, but more so revolves around psychology, emotion, and exercising discipline and restraint. Your ability to delay some level of gratification for a bigger reward later and applying this methodology to your spending practices is pivotal not just to your financial success, but also to your overall life achievement, as the studies have shown. In future videos, we'll talk about tips, tricks, and strategies for helping manage through some of the many spending challenges, which will also help take some of the stress out of the process. So before we conclude, if you found this video helpful in any way, please give it a like and subscribe. And if you know anyone that might be interested in this type of content, please share this video with them. It's our goal to help educate and arm our future generations with the info they need to build their own financial success in life. Now, if you missed our video on the #1 top personal finance tip for young adults, you can check it out here, and I hope to see you in the next video. This is AJ, your ace in the hole. See ya!